The Trump legal team filed a flurry of motions on Monday evening seeking to dismiss his D.C. federal case on the grounds of selective prosecution. One America's Daniel Baldwin speaks with attorney Paul Kamnar on the strength of these filings.
45th President Donald Trump's legal team filed nearly 100 pages of legal documents Monday evening, arguing that his D.C. federal case ought to be dismissed. Paul Kamnar of the National Legal and Policy Center is with us from Stockholm right now across the globe. Paul, let's start with the selective prosecution motion. Walk us through what Trump attorney John Lauro is attempting to show the court with the selective prosecution court filing specifically.
The selective prosecution motion basically says that the government is selecting Donald Trump for these, for the conduct of trying to get the election overturned by looking for alternate elector slates. And in our nation's history, that's been done dozens of times, and there's been no criminal prosecution for that kind of conduct. And so what he's saying is you're selecting me out for this and criminalizing it. And under our law, that is unconstitutional. And also a related charge that they're filing is what's called vindictive prosecution. That's sort of like a cousin to the selective prosecution defense. And that basically says you are being vindictive and going after me because you don't want me to become president. And for evidence, they cited Joe Biden saying from the White House a week before Trump announced that he said that we're going to make sure that Trump does not become president. And then what happened? Trump announced he's going to become president. And then a few days after that, Biden said, okay, now I'm appointing a special prosecutor, special counsel to go after you. Well, that's basically what we call vindictive prosecution. And I think they have good arguments to win that case, or at least that argument, but among others.
It appears that in the selective prosecution motion, Paul, that the Trump team is attempting to establish a timeline of alleged suspect behavior by President Biden, one of which it cites a New York Times article from April of 2022 that read, quote, as recently as late last year, Mr. Biden confided to his inner circle that he believed former President Donald Trump was a threat to democracy and should be prosecuted. That same article, Paul, said Biden privately told people that he wanted Merrick Garland to act like a less preponderous judge and more like a prosecutor who was willing to take decisive action. The filing noted that the FBI opened an investigation that same month. So when they're laying out sort of this timeline, they're trying to paint a story, but do you believe that the court will be receptive to that?
Well, that's a good point. They did lay out that timeline, and it's very compelling. But one thing as part of selective prosecution that the courts usually have is that you're entitled to a hearing. So this is the kind of a motion that Judge Chutkan cannot just simply deny without having a hearing on it. Because I think at this point, you're looking for the motivation of the prosecutors. So Trump's attorneys can probably ask to get Merrick Garland on the stand and his deputies to see why did they initiate this prosecution? Was it at the behest of the White House, et cetera? So this is a very important argument they can be making.
Paul Kamnar of the National Legal and Policy Center in Stockholm, Sweden. Sir, thank you so much for joining us on One American News. We appreciate it.
For all our viewers asking where One American News is heading in the future, we would like to introduce you to OAN Live. OAN Live is the best way to stay up to date on all of the hard-hitting, straight-shooting, national and international headlines. And the best part is, OAN Live is only $4.99 per month. All the credible, honest, unbiased reporting One American News offers at a fraction of the cost of cable. Just go to OANN.com to easily sign up for OAN Live and stay informed.